Welcome to Dateline Schools, a presentation of the St. Clair County Regional Educational Service Agency, with your host, Chris Troy.
Picture Perfect STEM is a new teaching guide being used by St. Clair County teachers to cross ELA and Science education to their students. And to tell us all about it this week on Dateline Schools is St. Clair County RESA's Assistant Director of Science and Math, K through 7th, Laura Chambliss. Laura, thanks a lot for being with us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to share our new professional developments that we've been using with teachers.
So a new professional development, that's basically school for the teachers, right?
Yes, it is. It's where teachers are just learning different teaching techniques or different contents. This one's especially exciting because it gives teachers resources to put right in their hands.
Now, Laura, a lot of times people have that opinion out there that the teachers, they learn what they learned from college, then they come and they teach it and they have their summers off, and it's just a really great life to have. But that's not really the case, is it?
No, we are always constantly learning. There's always new teaching techniques, strategies, and content to learn.
So tell me a little bit about this new program.
It's called Picture Perfect STEM, and it's a book through the National Science Association. There are two authors, Emily Morgan and Karen Ansberry, and they've written lessons for teachers. So it's science lessons, but they weave in the nonfiction and fiction books.
So does this work with, say, like the state requirements or federal requirements that need to be taught in each classroom?
The great thing about this program is it weaves in our literacy essentials for ELA and our new science standards, the next generation science standards.
ELA, what does that term mean?
English language arts, anything that has to do with reading or writing. And so the books here focus on fiction and nonfiction books, and it's all about our read-alouds.
Joining us now to help us learn a little bit more about this is St. Clair County RESA's Assistant Director of ELA, Jennifer Evens. Jen, thanks so much for being here on Dateline.
Oh, great to be here and talk about an exciting project that we're collaborating together with contents and sharing with teachers.
Now, yesterday, Laura talked a little bit about what the program was. What was your involvement with this?
Well, the ELA part, the literacy part, this program has some great read-alouds to help with the information and the content for the science standards that the teachers are teaching. And with the literacy essentials that came out years ago, we've been really targeting and focusing on interactive read-alouds. And so this gives us a perfect opportunity to merge with the science content and really help teachers engage in those read-alouds while teaching that information and connecting it to activities.
So back when I was in school, you had an English class, you had a science class, you had a math class. But it seems like this program kind of, as you said, kind of blurs the two. How does a teacher present this to their class?
Well, in elementary, and that's really where we're targeting because we have a K2 session and we have a 3-5 session, and the texts are dedicated towards those curriculum and standards that are to be taught in those. Teachers have the opportunity then to take a read-aloud that's part of their everyday, probably several during the day they might do, and they have the opportunity to use that time to front-load information or to engage students with kind of a teaser to draw them into the content that they're going to be learning. And then they have the opportunity then later to go through and do those activities.
Jennifer, how are these exercises in the classes, how are those determined depending on what grade level they're at?
Well, it's based on the standards. There are science standards. The next generation science standards are what the books have been rewritten and targeting. And then there's the literacy standards. The Common Core is what we follow.
Joining us now from St. Clair County RESA is Supervisor of Education Technology Director Kristin Day. Kristin, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks so much for having me.
So in order to have these great programs, there's got to be funding someplace, and you help out with that. Can you explain a little bit to the audience what your part was with coming up with this program?
Sure. We are in addition to being a RESA across the state, which provides education services regionally, we're also a REMC. We are REMC 18 North. REMC is the Regional Educational Media Centers of Michigan, and they have provided some professional development funds. And when Laura and Jen got trained in Picture Perfect STEM, me being the technology person, that's the T in STEM, I thought, wow, this is just really amazing program. And we've been working a lot through REMC with literacy as well to teach technology concepts and a more integrated approach. And so then I got trained, and then we decided to create the workshops to provide training to the teachers locally. They come and they get the books that have over 20 lessons. We do hands-on lessons with 2 of them in the sessions, and they walk away with the 2 children's books that are used to teach those lessons to their students. And we provide a stipend because we're doing it outside of their day. So we want to reward them for coming and teaching all day, and then doing a workshop with us in the evening, and just other things like that, food, other kind of giveaways as needed.
So how many instructors have been involved with maybe coming and learning this program?
So we did several sessions last year, and we have 2 scheduled this year, and I feel like we're getting close to 100 teachers trained.
Laura, is this program something that will continue to grow and expand?
I sure hope so, because the ladies that wrote this Picture Perfect STEM, they're now having individual grade level books. They first came out just as a grade band, K2, 3, 5, with each book being about 20 lessons. And now they've had such positive comments, and everybody's embraced these, that now they're coming up with grade level specific books, which means they're hitting the next generation science standards individually in each grade level. So that's really exciting.
Now, Jen, we've mentioned on here earlier this week that there's English in this, there's the science in this. Is this one of those cases where a student would maybe think they're really working science, but they're also building up their English skills at the same time?
Oh, absolutely. Every part of this is dealing with literacy from the perspective of learning the content, from engaging in the text and having text help explain the concepts, but then also they're retelling. They're stating as a scientist would. Sometimes they're logging and they're having to record the information that they're learning throughout the lessons. So there's definitely a strong connection in literacy in all contents.
Kristin, are there going to be more of these professional developments available for instructors who maybe haven't had the opportunity to take it yet?
Yeah, we have one more scheduled for this year so far in February, and then what we may do is then just kind of see where we're at in terms of how many resources we have, how much money is left, and kind of things like that, and could easily do another workshop toward the end of the year for people who, it might be not work with their schedule right now when we've had them planned, but if we could do one right in the beginning of summer kind of thing before everybody gets too disconnected and doing their camping trips and all those fun things, that would be an opportunity as well.
Are they given copies of these books?
Yeah, we have several copies that are printed, and NSTA also has an ebook, so people can choose if they would prefer to have an electronic text. And in addition to the 4 books that they get from the 2 lessons that we do in the training, we also purchased sets of all the other books that are included in the books of lessons, and we set up like a lending library for people to be able to use those books, remove that barrier of not having the resources to fully implement the program.
Is there a version of this book for teachers digitally that they can go online, or is this just strictly a hard copy thing?
No, you can purchase an e-text, and also too at NSTA, they have some sample chapters and things like that if people wanted to get a sense of what it looked like. But once you purchase, you can choose the format of having a printed book or an e-text.
For Dateline Schools, I'm Chris Troy. Dateline Schools is a presentation of St. Clair County RESA.